All right, Black Goose TV family, what's good with it? Y'all already know, man. I couldn't let this night go by without, at the very least, giving y'all a little something extra when it comes to the Jaime Munguia versus Jamal Charlo situation. Now, um, I'll say this, man. When it comes to boxing, you get a whole bunch of reports, a whole bunch of allegeds, a whole bunch of possibilities, a whole bunch of in the works, but it's very, very rare you get that it's official, because if it doesn't say it's official, a lot of times it's a bullshit, right? But it's part of the boxing game. You got to talk about it. You got to report on it. You got to hope for the best. And one of those situations that I'm referring to is very recent when it comes to Jaime Munguia versus Jamal Charlo, right? As of last week, supposedly was a done deal for June 14th. We was finna get crazy when it comes to the boxing community because we just had so many good fights, falling around that summer area, with this, being one of them added to it. Supposedly we're supposed to get the official announcement today, but in true boxing fashion, all that shit fell through, all due to promotional dispute. Promotion, no dispute. In other words, Golden Boy Promotion and the Zone couldn't get on the same page as PBC, right? And it all came down to broadcasting rights. It all came down to broadcasting rights. When it comes to PBC, if PBC feels like they got the big man on campus, if they feel like they got the A side, they ain't finna be like, wait, you trying to share broadcasting rights with us? Like, the fuck? We all know this. It's the history of PBC. If they're co-promoting with someone else, which is very rare, they do not give broadcasting rights to their opposition unless the fighter is an A side. And even if the fighter is an A side, there's something worked out where both are able to basically air the pay-per-view, i.e. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, etc., etc. So with that being said, I'm like, why not we hear from the man himself, the golden boy himself, Oscar De La Hoya, on what he thinks. Oscar De La Hoya, he's going to speak. He's going to say something. We're not going to hear anything from PBC. Al Heyman never says a word, so we're never going to hear that side. But at the very least, we can hear what Oscar De La Hoya has to say in response to the reports that the only reason we did not get this fight is because y'all couldn't figure out where y'all wanted to put this joint on pay-per-view, right? For boxing fans, boxing heads, it pisses us off, right? But also for boxing heads and for boxing fans, a lot of us, or at the very least, if we're, heavy, or, if we're heavy in the fan base of either one of these fighters, we're going to ignore the fact that it all came down to business that stopped the fight from happening. And we're going to start, saying duck, 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 goose, right? All that bullshit. But we all know when it comes to me, when it comes to Black Goose family, if y'all gonna be part of this channel, we don't fuck with the word duck, because at the end of the day, this motherfucking sport has nothing to do with a goddamn yellow animal on a motherfucking lake with a beak and feathers. Like, that's not the case, right? Or a bill, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So I don't believe in that word, right? It's always business, some business that didn't, allow the fight to happen. But let's go ahead, hear from the horse's mouth himself, Oscar De Golden Boy. And let's see what he has to say. What's his opinion on everything? And is any of the reports allegedly true? Let's hear him.
And Jaime Munguia versus Charlo. Look, listen, we want the fight, obviously. And Charlo's the champion. He gets the bigger cut. We all know that. That's common sense. Showtime, yes, you have the fight on Showtime pay-per-view, but I need the Zone to participate. They built Jaime Munguia. That's only fair. It's business. More platforms, more pay-per-views, more money for the fighters. What's wrong with that?
You see the All right. So before we hear what Jaime Munguia has to say, it was almost like Oscar De La Hoya was like, hey, Fluence, everything you just said, I'm going to say the same goddamn thing in this video. Now I'm playing. Look, that's what I said, man. Somebody, one of y'all promotions, hire me, man. I know the goddamn boxing business, man. But look, like 100% with it. Let me be real with you. You can see Oscar De La Hoya is frustrated. But this is me going to fantasy world, and I'm going, all this is alleged. This is off my opinion watching the video. I believe he's frustrated ultimately, not only with PBC, but I think he's frustrated with himself. Why do you think he's frustrated with himself? Because the possibility of him building Munguia, right? Someone that obviously he was building for a while, but didn't have priority to build until he lost the likes of Canelo, right? And he was like, "Oh shit, I only got Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz, and Munguia now." Which, by the way, he said Oscar De La Hoya said it himself in that goddamn video. Excuse me, in that video. DAZN built Munguia. Yes, once DAZN and Oscar De La Hoya, they came into that co-promotional deal. We saw a whole lot more marketing behind Munguia. That's a fact, right? So you can see the frustrating Oscar De La Hoya because you can see he's sitting there and he's like, he understands like, goddamn PBC, why you that always gotta be so difficult? But you gotta understand, if there was no co-promotional deal of Golden Boy Promotions with DAZN, this fight would be made. I bet money on it. I bet money Oscar would be willing to risk broadcasting rights to have Munguia fight Jamal in the hopes that he would beat Jamal, and now he has bragging rights, right? He's the A side. I know he would take that because that motherfucker Oscar is in somewhat of a desperate position when it comes to his stars, right? He doesn't have too many in the Golden Boy promotion side of the game. So I think he would take it. And that's why I feel like he's looked so frustrated about it, because in his head, he's like, damn, man, let's just make this fight happen. But DAZN being co-promotional was like, hey, no, we're not going to let PBC strong arm us like this. Just because they feel like Jamal Charlo is a bigger has more fan base and he's a bigger star than Munguia, we're not going to sit here and give him all broadcasting rights. If we're going to make this work, if we're going to give a rising star, remember I said this in a couple videos back. Make sure you guys check this out. They don't. Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotions, and DAZN, they don't have to take this chance with Munguia versus Charlo. Munguia has a much brighter future than Charlo because he's younger. Simple as that. He's younger, he's undefeated, and if you match him up against reasonable opponents, by the time he's 28, 29, and he's going into his prime, 30 years old, you can have him fighting the best of the best, and he can be a superstar within Golden Boy Promotion to DAZN. He doesn't have to be a superstar throughout the United States and all this stuff, but he will be making enough money for Golden Boy and DAZN where they can build their 160 division on his back, or the super middleweight division, whichever they choose. You guys have to understand long-term game. Make sure you guys check out the first video I dropped. I talked about this, talked about the sales, all that type of stuff. So please look at that if you don't understand what the fuck I'm talking about. But so with that being said, Oscar is willing to take this goddamn chance because you know how Oscar is, especially where he's at. He's willing to be like, okay, let's make it done. DAZN's looking at it from the like, look, hey, man, if we're going to put Munguia in this situation, we got to make sure we're all making our money. We're making enough money where it's the possibility of we're willing to halt or at the very least, I don't think this will keep Munguia from being great, even if he loses to Jamal, because he doesn't have to take this fight. But they understand it will fuck up his momentum, and it'll be about a year and a half before he can kind of get back in that good graces of boxing fans and be looked at as like a real contender if he loses to Jamal. So with that being said, I understand Oscar's frustration. He's ready to get things done, and he really probably believes Munguia is going to be able to beat Charlo. So he's like, what's the wait? But you got to understand DAZN. It was like, we're not letting PBC strong arm us like this. No, we're not. They want all the broadcasting rights. That's not going to happen. So we'll keep playing this game until they're willing to, give a little leeway. And if not, Munguia, he's young. We can wait. We can wait on this. So they know that. DAZN knows that. PBC probably knows that as well. And De La Hoya is probably that guy in the middle who knows it as well. But he's probably the one who's like, come on, man, let's make this fight. I want to see Munguia, blah, 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 blah. But that's my personal opinion on the whole thing. Let's go ahead. Let's hear what Munguia has to say real quick before I get up out of here.
Charlo fight, and Marcel, he went the distance with an opponent that he knocked out early in the fight. But what do you think of Charlo's performances overall?
He fought him, right? He fought him.
Pues estuve viendo unos highlights nada más, pero nada más miré que fue una gran pelea. La verdad no puse atención ya que peleamos pues ahora sí que el mismo día, pero pues creo que fue una gran experiencia para Charlo.
I saw the highlights. I saw that it was a great fight. Didn't really pay attention to it because of the day it was on, but it was a great fight.
Is there any frustration to get one of those big names in with them at this point of his career?
Okay, all right. So we'll go ahead and stop it there. Not too much said. But let me hear what do you guys think? What do you guys think about that? Do you feel like my little analyst of that short little video of Oscar De La Hoya is on point? Do you think I'm totally off? Do you feel like this isn't about business? This isn't about broadcasting rights, and it's just another ploy of Oscar De La Hoya saying some bullshit to try and get what they want, blah blah blah? Or do you feel like a fighter's ducking another fighter? Like, I know how y'all be thinking and what the way you guys look at boxing. I don't look at it the same way, but I do love to hear you guys' opinion on it, go back and forth. That's what makes this shit fun, right? As long as we can have constructive conversation, constructive disagreements, then hey, I'm all for it. drop as many comments as you want. But I want to hear, what do you guys think about this situation? Think about Oscar De La Hoya's response to the whole entire thing. Let me know. Drop it in the comments below. I'm gonna get up out of here. Salute to the people. Much love, and as always.